'Tis the season for seasonal affective disorder, otherwise known as SAD. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. I'll be absolutely joyous if you do. Today I thought, since we're entering a period where a lot of people are more prone to depression, mainly because the seasons are changing, it's getting more dark, more snowy, more rainy, or whatnot, I figured we can talk about it, especially since I have it. So I will give you guys the basic info of it and then talk about my own personal experiences. So I'll give you the tea on seasonal affective disorder, or in my case, coffee. This isn't a coffee mug. This is a coffee mug. You can't even see my face when I'm drinking from it. Alright, so first off, what is seasonal affective disorder? So, I'm going to give you guys information from the National Institute of Mental Health, which is a branch of the National Institute of Health from the US. And they say, seasonal affective disorder, SAD, is a type of depression that comes and goes with the seasons, typically starting in the late fall and early winter and going away during the spring and summer. Depressive episodes linked to the summer can occur but are much less common than winter episodes of SAD. So, here are the signs and symptoms. Seasonal affective disorder, SAD, is not considered as a separate disorder. It is a type of depression displaying a recurring seasonal pattern. To be diagnosed with SAD, people must fill full criteria for major depression coinciding with specific seasons appearing in the winter or summer months for at least 2 years. Seasonal depressions must be more frequent than any other non-seasonal depressions. So, symptoms of a major depression are feeling depressed most of the day, nearly every day, feeling hopeless or worthless, having low energy, losing interest in activities you once enjoyed, having problems with sleep, experiencing changes in your appetite or weight, feeling sluggish or agitated, having difficulty concentrating, having frequent thoughts of suicide or death. Now, if you are feeling suicidal, whether you have SAD or regular depression or you're going through a really rough time right now, please call the National Hotline for Suicide. Nope, I said that wrong. The National Suicide Hotline. And I'll put the link of it in my description. Please contact them if you're feeling that way. Symptoms of the winter pattern of SAD include having low energy, hypersomnia, overeating, weight gain, craving for carbohydrates, social withdrawal. Feel like hibernating. I'm laughing at that because I have a mild case of social anxiety and I always feel like that. Symptoms of the less frequently occurring summer seasonal affective disorder include poor appetite with associated weight loss, insomnia, agitation, restlessness, anxiety, episodes of violent behavior. Damn. They also talk about risk factors, treatments, therapies, and other stuff, but I'm going to put the link of this site into the description box, and you guys can read it for yourselves, especially if you think you have seasonal affective disorder or you do have it. So, having said that, I figure I can share my personal experiences with having seasonal affective disorder. So, mine began when I moved here. Obviously the weather and how long it's dark or light is definitely different than it is in Maryland. And even though I've been living here for a long time, that is one of the things I still have not adapted to. And it's actually hard to adapt to. And having the seasonal affective disorder doesn't make it easy to adapt to either. But I tolerate it. And I've been living with it long enough to know what to do when I do feel that way. So, for me, it happens here for me because where I live in Sweden, it gets dark at 3:30 in the afternoon when you're near the longest, darkest day of the year, which is December 21st, which is also known as the winter equinox. So the sun goes down at 3:30 and then it comes up at 9:30. We only get 6 hours of light during that time. Right now, the sun goes down probably around 4:30 and it comes up like around close to 8 o'clock. So we get about, if I do the math right, about 7-8 hours of light right now, compared to what we have in the spring or summer. Definitely the summer, because in the summer, it's the opposite. We have the long hours of light and shorter hours of darkness. Excuse me. But depending what kind of winter we have, that can play more havoc on my seasonal affective disorder than anything else. Normally Sweden has a lot of snow. They can get, I wouldn't even know what it would be in inches or feet, but put it this way. When Sweden is going through their normal winter, you will not see the ground green, brown for the next 3 months, because it gets that cold here and the snow can't melt. So it could be 3 months before you start seeing the ground again, because all you see is snow. Now, on one hand, that's a good thing, because snow makes everything look pretty. Even though it's a pain in the ass to shovel and drive through, it's pretty and it makes things look beautiful. Whereas if you're having a mild winter, everything looks gloomy. Everything looks gray and drabby. Things are more muddy. And when you have a mild winter, it rains more. So you get that. And for me personally, I get more affected, or my seasonal affective disorder gets more affected when there's a mild winter compared to a regular winter we have or a bad winter. So even if I start to get sick and tired of snow, if we have a lot of it, I prefer that over a mild winter. Now, here's the thing with me. I do suffer from regular depression. But as it says, you don't get depression frequently. There may be times of the month where you might get it, like clockwork. Like, I know before I had my children and before I had the birth control implant put in, and I will talk about that in a different video another time. But before all that, my depression used to serve as a warning system that I'm about to have my time of the month. So as soon as I got depressed, I know what was coming and I was able to prepare myself for it. And when I had regular depression, I could feel like crap for maybe 24 hours. And even though it's short-lived, it does a number on me mentally. Like, it really puts me in a messed up headspace. But it's not as brutal as seasonal affective disorder. Because, if you're in summer and you have this typical depressive episode, you can get out of it because, the sun's out. I can just look outside or go outside and go swimming or whatnot. Not that I can't go swimming here during the wintertime, because they do have bathhouses here where they have indoor pools. But you're still going to the bathhouse when it's dark outside, and sometimes it can be early as 3:30 in the morning. Or I said that wrong. 3:30 in the afternoon. And yeah. Um, so there's my personal experience with that, you know. And I've been dealing with this for a long time, every single time the winter comes. Now, for me, it starts usually in October because that's when we get snow sometimes, is in October. This year, we didn't get snow until this month. But when we did, it didn't stick, so we just basically got flurries. I know people in the States that got accumulation of snow before we did in Sweden, so they beat us to the punch with that. And then my depression would last until my birthday. So it's about, let me see, November, December, January, February, March. So I deal with this stuff for about 5 months. This year, it didn't start till November. Okay, my device is overheating. I don't feel hot. Maybe it was pressed up against something. So I'll just hold the camera here. And if it burns my hand, I'll go to the hospital. So, my seasonal affective disorder is kicked off by the long hours of darkness here, and if there's a mild winter mostly. I think my brother has it, and his starts around his birthday, and it lasts until March or April. Now, the thing is, it's not always about the weather or how much hours of darkness or light you do. Some people usually get hit by this during a certain time of year because they take that time to analyze what they have done in the last year. If things have improved or gotten worse or whatnot, and it can become quite bad for them if they're very self-critical of themselves. So my brother's if seasonal affective disorder, and he's had it since he was at least 18. His is usually centered around things he feels like he hasn't accomplished or whatnot. So we both have seasonal affective disorder. It's just certain things trigger it for us. I don't really do anything special to treat my seasonal affective disorder. I pretty much deal with it the same way I deal with my regular depression, which is try to look for anything positive that's about to happen. Like for me, my daughter's birthday party, Thanksgiving, Christmas, going back to the U.S. to visit my family and stuff. Those things help me deal with it. I focus on the positive things and focus on things that I look forward to that are about to happen. But that's not the only thing that can help. And it's kind of hard to focus on positive stuff when you're really, really feeling horrible about yourself. Especially if the weather or the hours of darkness that you're in, or even light, if you have the summer type of seasonal affective disorder. Even if that comes into play too, it's kind of hard to do that at times if you're really, really feeling down. Now, it's been recommended to me a lot to get the light. Don't worry about it. That was my computer that just, yeah. Maybe it's this one. Anyway, so there's a light that can help you out. It helps you get vitamin D, and vitamin D is pretty good about staving off. It helps you with your serotonin levels, because most of the time depression is an issue because if it's caused by natural stuff like genetics and stuff, it's usually because there's an issue with your serotonin levels, because that's the neurotransmitter that's responsible for making you feeling depressed and stuff. And if I'm not wrong, it's also responsible for you having anxiety as well. So this is the source of most of my issues, both depression, anxiety, paranoia, OCD, seasonal affective disorder. My serotonin levels are not normal. So that's what causes me to be depressed and stuff. But, the long hours of darkness doesn't help. And, when it's a mild winter, it doesn't help either. I'm going to move because I'm going to put my feet up. Sorry about that. So, anyway, other than trying to focus on positive stuff, I try to watch something that makes me laugh. I try to eat foods that make me happy, although I try hard not to overindulge on them because I am susceptible to binge eating. I do have a binge eating disorder. Let's see. I try to do things I enjoy doing, like swimming. I try to write, and writing helps me face my personal demons. And then there's also therapy. I don't do therapy personally, but it's something that I might want to try eventually because, it doesn't hurt to get therapy once in a while. But then with seasonal affective disorder, especially if you're in an area where there's constant hours of darkness, like in Kiruna, I'm probably going to spell this wrong or say this wrong, but in Kiruna, Sweden, which is the most northern town in Sweden, they get the 24/7 darkness, but then in the summertime they get the 24/7 of light too. But so when you have that type of seasonal affective disorder that's triggered by that, they recommend you getting a light, and the light, gives you vitamin D because it gives you light that you're missing from the sun, and also it helps you with your serotonin levels, and because that's what vitamin D helps you with, maintaining your or not maintaining but controlling your serotonin levels a little bit. I'm not going to get the light, obviously, because they do say that if you use it too much, it could affect your skin. And I'm not sure if they mean it in the way where it can actually cause you to get sunburned. But me and the sun have a little bit of a love-hate relationship. Well, it's probably good for me with the vitamin D. I play hide and seek a lot from the sun because it burns the crap out of me. Now, I'm not trying to say I have an allergy to the sun, but I don't like to go out in the sun so much. Now, I am Irish descent, and I learned the hard way a few years ago. Not that I didn't know I burn easily, but like a few years ago, I took my son to the bathhouse. And I did a big oopsie and forgot to bring suntan lotion or just sun lotion with me. I'm just going to lean back a little bit. My back's bothering me. Let me just do this because I think it's just, yeah. So sorry about all this. Where did I leave off at? Oh yeah, sorry. So we went swimming. And we were outside for maybe 2-3 hours. Now, they do call outdoor bathhouses here, or outdoor swimming pools here, bathhouses too. Just to let you guys know. But, so anyway, there were a few, it wasn't that high. It was probably like in the high 70s. And what would that be in Celsius? I have no idea. But anyway, it did get overcast a few times to the point at one point I thought that it was going to rain. But during that time, my son ended up becoming tanned, while yours truly burned her ass and stuff. Not literally, but I burned, even in overcast. Now, my significant other didn't think it was a big deal not to bring the sun lotion because the UV warnings here are about 1 to 2, which is very, very low risk. But when you're like me, it's still a risk because you will still burn. And I blame my Irish genes for that. Now, the funny thing is, after this happened, I did some research because I wanted to see if it was just a wives' tale that the Irish, had issues with the sun or whatnot, because it's like, oh, they burn easily, they can't go out, they have only two shades to them naturally. They're either burned from going outside and trying to tan, or they don't go outside much because, they're like us a little bit here where it rains a lot where they're at. So they don't get a lot of sunlight either. But I did some research, and it turns out that the Irish have the highest rate of skin cancer in the world, which just shocked me. So there's something about the Irish that makes them not friends with the sun for some odd reason. And it seems genetic because, I'm not from Ireland, I'm from the US, but I'm Irish descent, and that gene is still in me, as well as my father and his family. So I burn even when I go out in the sun and it's overcast. That's how pathetic it is for me. And yes, even when I do use sun lotion, I still burn. So there's a chance that I won't use a light just because of that. Well, if you like this video and my rambling and my information about seasonal affective disorder, hit like. If you subscribe to this video, I'll absolutely appreciate it, and I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.